Hello plant family! Welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me for yet another video. My name is Cassidy and I make videos all about plants. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing an update on my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. But just really quick, if you're not already subscribed, if you want to, I'm not going to say no. In fact, it would benefit me greatly if you were to subscribe. So do it. You want to do it, just freaking do it, dude. And of course, if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. So yes, as I said, for today's video, we are going to be doing an update on my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. So for the original video, which again, if I haven't already, there will be a card up here and I'll also link it down below. I did the DETOLF edition, mostly because I'm poor and it was the cheaper option. But luckily I had my sugar daddy, boyfriend, to sponsor the cabinet for me. So this video brought to you by Christian. And thanks to my lovely boyfriend, I now have a lovely cabinet with lovely plants in it. It's all just so very lovely. So today we're gonna go through the things that I've updated. And before you have a panic attack, I fixed the cords. Don't worry. Apparently I gave someone nightmares with the cord situation that I had going on the last time, so sorry about that. I have updated it, so I drilled a hole in the bottom of the cabinet and I fed all the cords out. So there's no more, I'm not gonna say there's zero risk of fire because it's still me, but I'm hoping that it's generally 5,000% safer than it was. So yeah, I'm just gonna take you through, show you all the little updates that I've done and stuff like that. So if that's something you're into, then keep on watching. So to start off the tour, the first thing that you may notice is that there's a bit of a change of location. So I originally had my greenhouse cabinet in my bedroom, but then when I did the redecorating, which by the way, I will leave a card up above if you're interested in watching my bedroom makeover video. But yes, when I did the redecorating, I decided that I wanted to move it out here just because I didn't have quite enough room and it just made more sense. I wanted to have it like out here beside my desk. So it's in a different spot. So I'll just open up the cabinet. One of the first changes that I made is I screwed a hole in the very top of the cabinet so that I could feed this light through. And that was a really important change I wanted to make because when it was hanging down, first of all, if you saw my initial IKEA greenhouse cabinet video, you would know that I was having issues with the cords coming off just because the cord clips that I was using were falling off. And then I'm actually still having that issue with this light down here, but it's less of a problem now just because everything's kind of moved. But anyway, I wanted to have at least this light screwed in through the top. And it also helps because it gives a little bit more space between the plants and the light. So I think like having them super close like they were before was a little bit much, but now it's the perfect distance and the light gets to all of my Hoyas, which is awesome. And then I did move this light here. So it used to actually be attached to this level just below, but I decided to move it up here so that I could get some filtered light for my lower light plants. So that way the plants down below would get a little bit less light and it wouldn't be quite as intense. And then I could have just a few more bright light tolerant plants on this level. The second really important change that I made was that I screwed this hole in the bottom of the cabinet and now all of the cords feed out through this hole. So that was really important to do because of safety, and it just looks a lot nicer. The bottom of the cabinet isn't full of cords. Of course, my cord organization behind the cabinet leaves a bit to be desired, but it's still better than it was before. And then on the bottom, all I have is the fan. I did try a configuration where I had some plants on the bottom, but I found that it was getting way too humid and there was a lot of moisture buildup on the bottom for some reason, which is not ideal because the bottom is made of wood. So I didn't want any mold growing down there. So I decided to just have that level strictly for the fan. So yes, this is the sort of configuration that I have settled on and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's perfect to be able to have some lower light plants on the bottom, well, the second to the bottom level here, and then have all of my Hoyas at the very top where they get lots of light. So I'll do a quick tour of all the plants in here. So in the very back on the left, I have my Hoya curtisii, and it has been quite sun stressed since I put it in here. I kind of prefer the original color variegation that it had before I stuck it in the cabinet. It was just like a nice green with silver variegation, and now it's turning very pink, which some people love. I guess it's just not my taste. It's still cute. It's still hanging in there. I had to it had a little bit of an accident and I dropped the pot, so I've had to repot it, but it's doing okay. And then right beside it, I have my Hoya carnosa, which I have decided is a Hoya carnosa rubra. I don't know if that's the actual correct ID, but someone sent me a picture of a Hoya carnosa rubra and it looked very similar to this one, so that's what I'm going with now. So then in the back right, I have my Hoya carrii, and these two leaves in the middle are brand new since it's been put in the cabinet, so it's growing amazingly. I turned it just because, as you can see, it was stretching towards the light a little bit, so I turned it so that it would get a little bit more of an even growth pattern. Then this is one of my 3 Hoya pubicalyx that I have stuck in here. I just wanted to help this guy a little bit because one of its runners snapped, and I stuck it in the soil and it seems to have actually rooted, but it's still just a little bit behind in terms of its development, so I wanted to see how much growth I could get out of it if I put it in the cabinet. Then in the front here, I have a Hoya sunrise cutting, and it has rooted, and actually you can see that there is a new growth point. So it doesn't look like much now, but the roots have grown really nicely. It's actually starting to circle around the bottom of this container. So pretty soon I'm probably going to repot it into soil, but it is just loving the sun in here, or rather the artificial sun. Then here I have my Hoya compacta variegata, which is definitely doing a lot better. As you can see, all of these little growth points here are new since I put it in here. So luckily this is rehabilitating fairly well, and I think maybe over the summer I can actually start to see some decent growth off of this, which I was pretty worried about because it was it was basically a stick when I got it in the mail. It lost all of its leaves except for these top 2, and thank God it kept those 2 because I don't know that it would have recovered otherwise. And then the last Hoya that I have up here is just my regular Hoya compacta. And this leaf is new since it moved in here. This leaf is new since it moved in here. So it's obviously doing extremely well and just loving it in here as well. I think honestly the IKEA greenhouse cabinet is just absolutely ideal for Hoyas. They love the humidity, they love the bright light, and these Fiat electric LED bulbs are what I give all the credit for all of this growth. They are like my secret weapon. So definitely get a hold of those. I'll link them down below for you. If you're thinking about doing a cabinet, I highly, highly recommend them. Okay, so the second shelf here is a little bit more sparse, and I actually moved this. So this bulb used to be on the bottom of the second shelf, and then I still have this fountain going. So pro tip, something I didn't mention last time, if you have one of these fountains, or any fountain really in your cabinet for humidity, it's important to clean it. Planteria Decorator mentioned this in one of her recent videos. So just take it out every once in a while, maybe every week or 2, and soak it with some vinegar, and that will get rid of the hard water stains and also just make sure that you don't have any algae or bad bacteria growing. So on this level, as you can see in the back, I have one of my Pilea peperomioides. And believe it or not, when I put it in here, this was the only leaf that it had, that very lower one, and all of these new leaves have popped up since I stuck it in the cabinet. That's one of the babies that I separated off my mother plant, and the mother plant is not doing so well, so I'm really glad that I separated those off. Then I have a string of turtles in here as well, which is doing fabulously, and then these are just some cuttings from my Calicia repens, or my turtle vine. And then I decided to stick my Peperomia Hope in here as well, just because it is such a cutie and I want it to live its best life, so I had some room in the cabinet and I figured why not. Okay, so then on the third shelf here, this is where I've stuck more of the lower light plants that I wanted to get some filtered light. So in the very back here, I have a Begonia Rex Silver. The leaves are very silver, and then the undersides of the leaves have like this red veination, which is extremely pretty if you ask me, and it's been doing pretty well for me so far. If you follow me on Instagram, you may know that I acquired this Begonia maculata, and almost as soon as I got it, it dropped like 80% of its leaves, and it was just doing really, really poorly. And I wasn't sure why. I think it was overwatering because the soil that it was in was like basically pure peat moss, and it was just soggy. So I repotted it into a much more airy and well-draining mix, and now it's sitting in the greenhouse cabinet and it's doing so much better. And it has so many new leaves coming in, and I'm thrilled that I was able to save it because it's honestly so pretty, and I would have been really sad if it died. Then I have this red Maranta in here. I am falling in love with Marantas, and I think like prayer plants in general are quickly becoming one of my favorite plant varieties. Like, even look how the leaves come out. They come out like little scrolls. It's so adorable. I think that they're so cute, and of course they love humidity, so I stuck it in here. Then I have my Scindapsus pictus exotica here, and you can see on the leaf where I had it too close to the light for a little while and it started getting sun damage, so that's why I moved it down here, because it was obviously a little bit too close to the light, but it definitely was putting out new growth regardless, and this new leaf that's coming in is the first new leaf that has put out since I got this cutting. So I'm very excited about that. Then down here I have my Macotes petola or jewel orchid, and it's getting quite a bit of light in the spot that it's at, but it's not like super close to the light. So I think it seems to be enjoying this moderate amount of light that it gets down here. And then last but not least, my Cebu blue, which ta-da, has put out a new leaf, and I am so thrilled. This cutting was like really struggling when I got it, and it took so long to put out a new leaf. The roots are growing really well. They're starting to circle around the bottom again, so I might have to repot this into some soil soon. But this is another one where you can see that the leaf was getting a little bit sun damage, so I moved this one down here as well because I just wanted it to get that filtered light. So in terms of other things that I've updated, I added a pebble tray just to this layer because I was finding that the bottom was not nearly as humid as the top. I think the humidity from the fountain tends to like go upward instead of down. So I added this pebble tray because I just wanted to add some extra humidity to the bottom of the cabinet, especially since I have like begonias and prayer plants down here and they really like humidity, and the jewel orchid as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I had enough down here for that. One more thing that I'll mention before I go is for the glass, it does, if you have the fountain going, it can splash on the glass and it will leave stains. So what I found to be really effective for cleaning the glass if you get any water stains on it is a mixture of 50% vinegar and 50% water, and just take that into a bucket and brush it on, or sorry, wipe it on with a cloth. This morning, this entire door was covered with stains, and it really easily came off with the vinegar water solution. So if you're not using distilled water in your fountain, then that can be an issue that you might run into. So yeah, just do a 50-50 mix, vinegar and water, and it'll come right off no problem. Another thing I really like about having the cabinet out here is that I can put plants nearby and they will get that sort of residual light coming from the cabinet. So for example, I have a marble queen pothos sitting on the top and it gets light from the side here. I have a Sansevieria Bantel Sensation right beside it and it gets plenty of light from this light here. In terms of what I want to do in the future, I do want to add some pegboard. So I think ideally what I would like to do is get rid of this middle shelf here and have a pegboard along the back. And then that way I can just have the more like high light loving plants hanging off the pegboard, and then have these lower light plants down below, and just have like the gradual shift from bright light plants to lower light plants and just having them hanging from the pegboard. I think similar to Planterior Decorators video, that would be really cool. And then having the pegboard would also help me with a solution for this light because it is still being held up by those cord organizer clips and they are not the most effective. Overall, that's how the cabinet's going. I'm learning a lot as I go, so please leave me comments down below if you have any suggestions or any questions at all. I would be happy to talk to you about it. But so far, I am absolutely thrilled with the amount of growth I'm getting from these lights. They're amazing. Again, I'll have them linked down below because I cannot recommend them enough. And yeah, that is where we are at so far. All right, so that concludes my IKEA greenhouse update. I hope that you found it informative and perhaps you will implement some of these ideas into your own cabinet. I don't know. So again, if you enjoyed this video, I would so appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up. My self-esteem is 100% based on validation that I get from the internet. So like this video if you want to prevent me from having a mental breakdown. And please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I will definitely be doing more updates on my IKEA greenhouse cabinet in the future. Like I said in my last video, I linked Planterior Decorators IKEA greenhouse cabinet video, which I based a lot of my ideas off of for this build. So I'll be linking that down below as well because she is just amazing. All right, and tune in next Friday for more planty content like this. Bye, everybody.